Ken folk, good evening. You already know who it is. It's your main man with the game plan. You know who you're dealing with when you're feeling it. It's Janice's oldest boy. Sincere is definitely in the building. Let's get the particulars out of the way, please. If you're on Facebook, please hit that like button as you come in. Also, please share the page to your page, as that will help us grow our viewing and listening audience. I would appreciate that. If you're joining us from YouTube, please hit the like button as well. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can be notified whenever I go live here on the Black Owned Podcast. And as usual, we're always looking for guests. If you are a Black business owner, if you're a Black author, if you're a Black creative, artist, guitar player, anybody that can provide anything informational or inspirational, we would definitely love to have you on the show. Um, Also, I just wanted to say this is August, and August is the National Black Business Month. So please make it a point to go out and support Black businesses both locally and nationally. This is August. August is National Black Business Month. So please make sure that you make a considered effort to get out and support a Black business, any Black business of your choice. And also, I would include the Black owned podcast in that as well. Support it as we do you. Just a few things before we get to the breaking news. First, I want to give a big shout out. You know, I'm a sports guy. Diana Taurasi, the GOAT, becomes the first WNBA player to score 10,000 points in a career. So big congratulations to Diana Taurasi of the Phoenix Mercury on that accomplishment. That's a big deal. And we want to give her a big shout out here from the Black Owned Podcast. We appreciate greatness when we see it. You know what I'm saying? Now, a few things to cover before we get to the breaking news. An apartment owner uh, in Greensboro, North Carolina, was arrested, excuse me, after assaulting a black child. Yeah, a 62-year-old grandmother and Greensboro apartment manager, excuse me, has been arrested after police confirm assault occurred on the 3rd of August at Sedgefield Gardens Apartments Complex. Kimberly Jennings, who is a white woman and who is the apartment manager in question, was charged with 2 counts of assault on a child under 12 years old. A child under 12 years old. This is a 62-year-old woman. Viral video shows this woman who looks like Jennings pouring soda on a young child and hitting him with a bottle while 2 other adults watched, stood by, and did nothing. I'm not going to say the young man's name, even though it is made public, but I don't want to say his name here. As an 11-year-old boy who was in the video and um, was standing up for his sister, actually, when Jennings, um, began to apparently assault his sister. His mother told that she would like Jennings to be fired, and so would I immediately. I would love to see her be replaced as soon as possible because, in no shape, form, or fashion, should we be endorsing 62-year-old, or any aged people assaulting young children. And I don't care if you're black or white. If this was a black manager assaulting a black child or vice versa, I still wouldn't approve of it. We should not be out here laying hands on kids and subjecting them to any type of traumas that are unnecessarily do. So, um, Simone Biles, welcome back to the goats. Females just doing their thing, huh? Females out here winning. I'm with it though. You know what I mean? It's females. Simone Biles returned to competition, and guess what she did? What she always do? Win. Win. She had just I think one competition that no 2 that she competed in, and she won first place overall. Regular business as usual. If you forgot, Simone Biles bravely and courageously took a year off for her mental health, which was a great thing. I think she got married since then as well. So We were always wishing her well, and it's great to see Simone Biles back and comfortable, doing her thing and being great and allowing us to partake in her greatness. So, as we clear it up, Big Al, what's going on, my brother? Glad to see you, man. Glad to see you. I appreciate the support as usual. Um, and let's get into breaking news. All right, we're going to start our breaking news off. If you were here last week, you remember we were talking about the Jim Crow law that was going to be placed into effect in Mississippi and had actually passed the House in Mississippi. That was actually recently shot down by the Louisiana courts, who said that law was particularly harmful to African American voters, especially African American convicts who have served their time and regained their right to vote. So great, news on that. Good to see that we actually have some people who will stand up, some people who will use their common sense and and was able to strike down that law up there in Mississippi. Excuse me. In other news, presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. You might have remembered him from his very contentious encounter on the Breakfast Club, where he was interviewed by the young lady who kind of was out of pocket. I actually stood up for him at that. What's her name? I mean, at that interview, I actually took his side, and he says that Juneteenth is a pointless holiday, and if elected president, he would consider canceling the holiday altogether. Yeah, yeah. Ramaswamy. Ramaswamy. Boy, I am live. He's a presidential candidate, and he was on the breakfast. Yeah, Ramaswamy. Al. That's really how you say it. Yes, yes. Um, yes. So he talked about canceling the 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 holiday altogether. So yeah, uh, something was. Did y'all hear what I said? My mic must have went out. I'm good though. I'm back. Ramaswamy again calls Juneteenth a pointless holiday, and that he says that he, if is the presidential candidate, if he's president, then he would consider canceling the holiday altogether. So I don't understand what his point was. He never really got into why he thought it was a pointless holiday, even though he celebrated it. It was on his IG page, and his IG page is public, of course. So people seen that he willingly celebrated the holiday, but now while he was in Iowa campaigning, he voiced his opinion as seeing it being pointless. So I don't know what the point there was, but this is what I do want to say, black people. When people tell us who they are, we got to believe them. We can't be sitting around here trying to come up with, excuses for these people, and we making it easier, for them to kind of just treat us any old type of way, because they always make promises to the black delegation, if you will, while they're on, the campaign trail. But then when it comes time for them to actually on the campaign trail, then when they get elected, they forget all about us. Which, and to in my opinion, hey, I kind of expected it. It is what it is, if you will. Um, but yeah, when these people start telling us who they are, we gotta start believing or if you're Republican. It's just a stupid, yeah, independent or whatever. It's just why would you say that for one? Two is kind of disrespectful, very disrespectful if you ask me, because people of color celebrating. Um, if that's the case, then we should also get rid of the 4th of July. So let's just wipe both of them clean, and then hey, there that is. I guess it's time for us to go ahead and get coached up. So you know what that means. You know what that means. Hold on.
What up? What up? What up?
What's happening
What's
to
going
my
on?
conscious right here? This is my conscious. You got to do it. This is your conscious speaking.
Hey,
This
this
is
is your
my conscious. Coach K, what you got for us today?
what's crack a lacking, y'all? It's your girl, Coach K Woods, and I go through the week looking at things on social media, and I really want to bring them to the platform because we see this a lot. So I'm going to get into it again today. And it's really to the point of the double standards that I continuously see when it comes to men and women. Now, as we all know, I'm a transformational mindset coach for women. That means I'm getting us out of the outdated thinking methods. And the outdated thinking methods that I'm going to talk about today is your lack of accountability, the double standards that we have all day long. So I sent my boy Sincere some things that I seen on social media earlier, and I'm going to actually talk about it. So it was a scenario where there was a guy that was actually texting a young lady about, meeting up for drinks, something, casual dating type thing. She pretty much did not respond. I'm not gonna get into the whole logistics of everything, but just to give y'all things, she basically was given like side eye behavior, and she pretty much ghosted him. For he texted her like 5 o'clock one day. She didn't respond again until 7:30 the next day. And he was kind of direct and saying, interesting. No apology for the holdup because that was rude. And you still didn't answer my question. The ability to simply say, oh, okay, that may work. Give me a few and I'll hit you back would have worked perfectly, especially since we were talking about getting together at 9 p.m. that night. Okay. Now, my scenario with this was something that was posted for people to comment on, right? And us ladies, I was disappointed. And I'm going to say I was disappointed because we ain't hold her accountable. Now, for whatever reason why she did not communicate, she did not communicate. But the fact of the matter is, I was seeing comments like, oh, I would have cussed him out for trying to get smart with me. Oh, I would have said, she gave him a response. Yeah, 26 hours later. Okay. But the reason why I say there's no accountability is because had those tables been turned, and if that was a male that had pretty much not responded to her for 26 hours, they would have been like, oh, that's a red flag. Oh, he got a girlfriend. Get away from him, sis. He toxic. So, ladies, I'm going to need you to assume that toxic trait as well. You know what I'm saying? Listen, if you're not interested in somebody, it's okay to communicate that. I am really over the fact that we are not communicating whether we are like somebody, whether we're interested, whether we want to move forward. What is wrong with your mouth to where you cannot communicate that? This is it's to the point where now I'm tired of seeing it. And y'all know I am big on accountability. Ladies, I'm holding us accountable today. What is it that you struggle with so much that instead of you saying, you know what, yeah, I waited a whole day and a half to respond back to him, it's because I wasn't interested. It's because I didn't want to be bothered. It's because my plan A came through and I wasn't thinking about him. Like, what's the problem with communicating that? But instead, what we doing is sitting up here. Oh, I would have cussed him out because he said something in a text message. He was expressing his feelings. And the problem with that is, with ladies, is y'all don't want nobody expressing their opinions when it's taking it out on you. But let us be the ones that want to pour our emotions. Then these men are just supposed to sit around and just listen to it while we continue to talk and talk and talk. Now, y'all know I advocate for us every day, but what I'm going to tell y'all is we have to take accountability and communicate just like we want somebody to communicate with us. What is the problem? Why are we not doing that? If you felt like this, and I'm gonna say this, if you are listening to this live right now and you feel like that she did not have to communicate with him after not saying anything to him for 26 hours, I'm going to tell you right now, you have a problem with your communication skills.
Mm,
You can take offense however you want
mm,
to take it. Hey, I'm unapologetic. If y'all ain't listen
mm,
to me by now, y'all better listen to me today. I am unapologetic in what I say. But if you feel like that there was not an issue with her going 26 hours and he was asking her to take her on a date, he was asking to pick her up, he told her, hey, just let me know what you want to do, whatever. All she had to do was say, you know what? Yeah, I'm really not interested, but I appreciate it. Hey, because his feelings been hurt, probably so, but she kept it a buck. She didn't ghost. You know what I'm saying? Especially
mhm,
when I know as ladies, we will turn the tables and be like, girl, that's a red flag. You avoided that ball, sis. You avoided that toxic nigga. You'd be
mhm.
glad he ain't respond back. So what I'm gonna tell you is keep that same energy both ways. Hold them accountable, hold your damn self accountable, and we'll move forward and we'll be able to grow in 2023 and beyond, because that's what it's about, right? We're not still using the old outdated methods of old, because that's why a lot of people still single and a lot of people talking about, you can't find no good man or whatever. That's because you don't feel like you got no work to do on yourself. Well, I'm here to tell you today that you do. Do I need to keep what, sister?
Church, you just preached the word. You hear me? You hear me? Now, look,
It's true
I'm.
though.
Hey,
Like
look,
I'm
hey,
man.
I wanted to make sure you got all that out because I didn't see no reason to interrupt that. You hear me? But let me tell you something, and this is because you when you sent me the screenshots. Here's what is interesting, right? And you're right. It is kind of double-edged sword,
Mhm.
completely unfair to men, if you ask me. So, um, when they were actually texting back and forth minutes apart to make
Right.
plans for that
Come on.
evening, and then she just stopped responding, and he responded, like, wow, just in the middle of making plans, you stop, what I'm saying,
Yep.
texting or what have you. Now, on this very show, by this very coach, I remember us saying we have to be at a point now where where we are done with beating around the bush and we say what we mean and we mean what we say,
Period. Period. Come
right?
on.
If
Yep.
she was not interested in going out with this man, she could have just said, you know what, hey, I'm not interested, or at
That
least I'm not, interested in meeting up anytime soon. Give me a little more time, and then we could. There's a bunch of ways that could have been handled. To me, it's childish to just
yeah.
be like, hey, I'm just not going to respond back to this guy, or
Yeah.
or this
It's
lady
the
if it had been
restricted
any
state of
other way.
mind. Exactly. It's the restricted state of mind that we keep crying that we want growth and we want to move forward, but yet we don't want to put no pedal to the metal for our damn self. We want everybody around us to grow and understand and communicate. But when it's time for us to do it, it's like, yeah. But I
It's
ain't
a
talking
problem,
about me. I'm just talking about y'all. Yeah, I'm just talking about
right?
y'all. No, we're
Yeah,
done with
yeah,
that. Everybody,
right, right.
everybody. Communication
And
is key now more than ever. I'm telling you.
and listen, accountability is a buzzword, these days, especially when we're talking about relationships, and especially when we're talking about Black women. And I only say Black women because I've never dealt with any other kind of women, so I wouldn't know what that was like. So that's not a shot, particularly across the bow, but
Right.
it's just saying,
Right.
in my dating history, that's all I've ever dealt with. So um, it has to be a point where we can look back, or you yourself can look and say, you know what, maybe I could have done that better. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And you know what? It's two words that most women are very, very afraid of, and it is, I apologize. You know how easy it is for you to say, I apologize. Do you know how much of a mess those two words can clean up? Because dude's not it's not we easy. You know what I'm saying? We not really on it like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We not really on it to the point to where we need a whole, you know, you need to do a whole dissertation on what went wrong and how it went wrong and you made this left when you should have made the right. No, we don't need all of that. All you
Right.
got to do is just be like, I apologize, and we good.
Yeah, it is. It is. It just boils down to, and even if your reaction might not have been the correct answer or the correct reaction out the gate, there's nothing wrong with going back and saying, hey, you know what? Hey, you know, things I handled that a little incorrectly, and I apologize for that. Hey, let's start this over again. Hey, hey, I apologize, but I'm just not into you. The apology can still be there. I apologize, but I'm just not into you. And that go for both ways. You know what I'm saying? Man, if you're not interested in ladies, and I know our dynamics and our, minds is a little bit different. However, the communication comes into play across the board. We have to be open to communicate on every level, even those uncomfortable conversations, because those are the conversations really that's going to help you pivot. It's going to help you grow, whether it's by yourself, whether it's in a relationship, whether you're going into something new with somebody else. You have to be open to have that. You just meeting this person. This man was communicating with you and trying to throw offers out on the table, where I've heard women say, oh, you know what? All he wanted to do was take me here. No, that man was real life trying to make plans for them. He real life threw a couple of different alternatives out there, but yet and still, she still ghosted. So again, at the end of the day, if she wasn't interested, that still could have been communicated. We ain't that
And
ghost.
look, look what's on the screen right there. My man Al said this behavior erodes a person's character.
It does.
That
It does.
that means a lot. And
It
you know
does.
what? And it should mean a lot on both sides. If a man did this to a woman, that definitely tells her a lot about his character. And if a woman does it to a man, it
She
does
going
the
to his
exact
girls.
same thing.
Yeah, she
Because
going
if
to
you
her
did it
girls
once, you'll
like,
do it
oh,
twice.
girl, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. Hey, he should have been, and honestly, he should be thinking the same thing about her. So hopefully,
Exactly.
I don't know what, I didn't see the after effects of everything from the scenario. I just hope that he took that for what it was worth and been like, you know what? I see right now that this ain't going to be the best thing for me. So I'm just going to keep it pushing. No love lost. I'm not mad. I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. Just keep it on pushing, because at the end of the day, that's what we got to do. But we still have to communicate that at the end of the day, because
I like the way that he ended the conversation by saying interesting, still no apology. And that's what I mean when I talk about that accountability that has to happen. And that should have been the first thing that she said when she responded back. I'm sorry. I was somewhere, family came over out of nowhere, and I lost track of time. What I didn't mean to do was impromptu. You're right. You know what I'm saying?
So from 5:00 that day before till 7:30 that next day, you can't listen. We know that we on our phones a lot, y'all. You seen your phone. You seen your phone. You could have communicated, unless you was with Plan A and you was giving Plan A all your undivided attention. Okay, whatever. But it still could have been communicated. Hey, not right now. Not right now. Who's to say the worst couldn't have happened? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, at what point do we hold ourselves accountable and say, you know what, her communication is trash? Because that's what I commented on. That's exactly what I said. What did I say? I'm gonna read what I said, so just so people don't think I'm sugarcoating. I said communication is communication. It seems to be dwindling more and more. Folks on their phones way too much nowadays to not respond, especially with when a simple question was asked. Had that been her asking and no response from him, then it would have been, he got a girlfriend, that's a red flag, etc. I'm just saying, keep the same energy both ways. Her communication skills are trash, and I think it was a little rude, and I stand on that wholeheartedly. But I love us, ladies. I love us, and that's why I work with us, because we got to get out of that outdated thinking method. We can't expect to have this perfect communication from somebody else when we're not willing to give that in return. So,
right, man. Listen, there's nothing I can say. You covered it all.
Hey, y'all know I gotta get some empowering real talk. You know what I'm saying? I gotta get some empowering real talk. That's what I do. I'm all about helping us push forward. as a community, as an individual, because them the conversations that we need to have. Which actually, I'm going to bring me real quick before I get out of here, real quick, and go to our next segment. That I am hosting. My growth over everything. So growth over everything is a new workshop that I am actually hosting in person here in my city of Peoria, Illinois, but I'm also hosting them virtually as well. These are free supportive sessions for women ages 25 and up. Listen, we are talking about engaging inspirational conversations. We talk about entrepreneurship, we talk about corporate life, we talk about everything that women want to discuss to feel supported and not judged, and in a community of positive minded individuals. If you actually want to go, let me actually throw the comment here in the chat. Free registration. These are free every third Wednesday here in my city, but every third Thursday virtually via Zoom. You can go to that website, upgradedmindsets.life, growth over everything, and sign up, register. You can register for the runs for the rest of the year. Listen, I'm all about positive communication. Okay. I'm all about having, those uncomfortable but supportive conversations, ladies, because we need it. I know a lot of us do not feel like we are supported from our family, friends, our peers, whatever else. And here is a platform where you will get just that and walk away feeling empowered and inspired and be ready to come back for the next month. So I hope that any lady that is watching this, whether you watch it live or on the replay, go ahead and get registered. And you'll get all the details you need upon your completion of registration. So thanks for letting me shout that out real quick. But hey, listen, y'all, communication is key. Let's work
Hey,
on making
listen,
that
if
continue.
you're able to and you're in the city, definitely make sure you go, and take advantage of that as a resource. You know what I mean? It's free. You get to cover a lot of topics, and of
Absolutely.
course you have access to Coach K. So if there's some other things
Man,
that
you
you might
think
want
I
to speak
talk
with
on
her
here right
about,
now? Y'all better catch me and I'll be on the roll, baby.
you see what I'm saying? So you could be able to take advantage of all of that, all of those resources in one place and at one time and on a
Absolutely.
consistent basis. So I think I might get
And be
with you, so you can
supportive.
maybe help me get something started like that for men,
Hey,
out
I'm
here
always down.
in Dallas,
You
because I would
know,
like to do something like that.
let's get it.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. You
Right.
know I'm down.
Again, it is August, so it is National Black Business Month. So, like I said, if you can, please do support a local or national black business brand. This would qualify as one of those businesses that we would ask you support, and our next guest also would have and qualify as one of those
Ooh, I'm excited.
next businesses that you should support. A very intelligent young lady. I spoke with her a little earlier, and it was great speaking to her. You guys are really going to get a lot out of what she has to share with us. She's very dedicated into the STEM area, and she has a program that's going to be coming out later in the year. I'm excited about it. I know she's excited about it, and we hope you'll be excited about it too. So please help us as we welcome Emalia DeNoon. Good evening. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Good. So I gotta admit, when I first came across your program, I was very intrigued, not just because it's STEM, because there are some STEM, subjects that kind of, I like, to deal with the brain and what goes on in there or whatnot or whatever. But when it says that there was a correlation between STEM and doing braids, I was like, what? Very intrigued there. So, first of all, introduce yourself and tell us about uh, your your um, your program and where you're coming from, so forth and so on.
Okay, got it. Thank you. My name is Emalia DeNoon, and I'm the founder of STEM Braids and Beyond and the host of the Silver Bullet STEM podcast.
Mhm.
Most of the STEM products on the market teach STEM discovery, and STEM discovery does not account for the historic oppression of the underrepresented community and the gap that has created in being able to access STEM and STEM jobs. And so my product is like a pre-discovery phase. I define it as being um, critical to STEM discovery success, the same way early childhood education and pre-K is the K to 12 education. What data shows is that 60% of the underrepresented community loses interest in STEM by sixth grade. And part of the reason is that if you don't feel your place in STEM, as was the case for me, it's hard to keep that momentum. But if you know it's what you're meant for, which is a lot more accessible than most people realize, you stick with it, kind of.
I like it. So I know that when we were speaking earlier, you were talking about how you can spot a thing in your child or in your children,
Mhm.
and you have to learn how to play to those strengths, and that some of
Absolutely.
those things, even in failure, can come full circle and bring them into the STEM atmosphere. Explain that if you will.
My program teaches three fundamental steps. Awareness, which is what I'm doing ahead of launching. And so being aware of what STEM is. And one of the things I said to you, like, what is STEM? Beyond the acronym, what is STEM? And if you can't define that, then your child is not on track to even pursue STEM because you don't know what it is. You know,
Right.
it's just as relevant as saying, oh, on the moon, what's happening? We don't know what it is, you know. And then readiness, which is an assessment I created that builds on the awareness factor. What is it, and how to spot it in your child? That's the awareness.
Hmm.
Readiness is the assessment I developed, and enrichment, being able to align your child to activities that build on their strength. And I'll use my daughter as an example. My son, he was born, I mean, very academically gifted. My daughter, she learned differently. Not that she wasn't as smart, I just had to
Hmm.
find her academic momentum. And when she was young,
I
we would,
like that phrase.
yeah, what's that?
I like that phrase, academic momentum. I'm gonna use that.
Please do. And what it is that for a really long time I thought that she didn't test well because we would study together, and then she'll go in and still struggle with a C or B. And I was still a trooper. And then I remember, I think it was like third or fourth grade, she came home with her first A. It was 97%. I was like, hold up, what subject is this? It was health.
Hmm.
She's always had dexterity. It's the thing she was born that way, just incredible dexterity. I would later realize that it was she also had great fine motor. So before she had a spot in health, she had great fine motor skills. Also, continuing the momentum of her academic studies, I realized that in math, the area excelled in was geometry. She struggled with everything else. And
Okay.
so, combination of those three skills, fine motor dexterity, health, and geometry, I started exploring with her, what career can you do? And she realized that surgeons use all the skills she was. And so before I realized it, she built her own momentum. So even when she wasn't successful in a subject or in a topic, she didn't take it like, I'm not smart. It's just an area she
Mhm.
needs to work harder in. And so before I realized it, she took on the momentum of hers on her own, and that started snowballing, you know, and led to her saying, you know, Mom, I want to be a neurosurgeon. And I wish I could say like I saw that path for her, but in exploring surgical fields, that's what she decided to do. And being able to spot that in your child and work towards STEM, it's way more accessible than we realize. You don't have to be great in every subject. I'm not good in every STEM in every STEM subject, but the thing that you're good in, kill it.
So you know what? First of all, I commend you on that because I also and my wife would try to find whatever our kids were good at naturally, and then try to kind of steer them in that direction. But the thing that was different here that you noticed was not just their mental capability, but also her physical capability with the dexterity.
Yes.
And I think that's key. It's something that we as parents need to probably pay a little bit more attention to, so that we can come up to a discovery as you had with your child. Um, what is it about STEM and the Black community that has us kind of like not really seeking it on any level?
I think that's why the first level of my program is awareness, because we don't even know what it is.
That's
You
true.
know, I mean, I'm dating myself, but I was 36 when I found out I had a STEM aptitude. It
Mm,
would take another year before I was convinced that I even had anything STEM. Because here's the thing, and when I talk about um, finding the thing you're good at, I was never good in biology. I think life prepared me this way to make sure I had this journey. I was never good in biology, never good in chemistry, never good. I mean, I was decent in physics. Um, uh, sorry, I got distracted by the comments.
no, it's
um,
okay. You can address those comments if you like.
Okay. The and but I was really good in math. And you
Hmm.
asked me about the pitch, and one of the things I in high school I created was a mathematical formula that allows me to guess the number of anything in a jar, candy. When I was growing up,
Hmm.
it was beans, and if you won, you got this really big teddy. And
Right.
I came up with, I developed my own mathematical formula. I didn't know
Wow.
that was a STEM skill.
Hmm.
And I demonstrated it. I've demonstrated it several times. It's going to be part of my Kickstarter reward when I launch. But I've demonstrated the efficacy of that of the mathematical formula. At 36, I used the formula at a work event.
Hmm.
And one of the engineers, I was working with engineers at the time, and they said, "That's why would you think that?" I was like, "Why else wouldn't I think about using math?" And it got back to the senior program manager, and he got me into engineering projects for the next year. And we had a project we were working on. The lead engineer didn't do the correct brief, and he had to brief our leadership and then the Pentagon. And I caught it. None of the other engineers did. And when it
Mm.
got to that program manager, he said, "Do you understand that you're understanding PhD concepts and you don't have a STEM degree?" Actually, I didn't even have a degree,
Wow.
and I was understanding. And so, this led that journey. Like, how is it? Because you said finding what your child is good at. My parents always said I had a strong business acumen.
Hmm.
So even when my STEM skills showed up, they didn't even know where to place it. Do you know what I mean? So you could even
Because it's
have
unfamiliar.
absolutely, absolutely. And so this is where my program comes in, being able to define what that is and what it looks like. Even if your child has an interest, there's this guy, I actually did a video on him, Cam Peterson. He's a comedian. And he says, "I like rocks." I'm not really or nothing. And
Hmm.
how do you shape that? He could have been a geospatial engineer,
Right.
geologist. I mean, instead of thinking, oh, maybe it's he, and he defines himself as being on the autism spectrum. Really?
Right. I mean, because that's what we told, and that's kind of where we're pushed into.
I,
And Keith, I can see where your disagreement with lies. As a matter of fact, me and Miss DeNoon actually spoke about this earlier. And when I say spoke about it, I mean um, I read a book that was talking about how athletes are actually operating at genius level
absolutely.
when they're doing their athletic things, the athleticism, the way that they have to think, kind of like right
Right.
there in the second,
Absolutely.
is genius level thinking. And you agreed and spoke and expounded on that. Go ahead if you will.
Absolutely. So there were 2 points that I made. It's that, so I want to address what Keith Emerson said. You
Hmm.
shared that people of Black people know what STEM is. If you don't mind telling me what is STEM, I want to see what you say STEM is. And without Googling it, tell me what the core STEM skills are. And that is where I would segue into the STEM, the sports and its correlation to STEM.
Hmm.
So about 500,000 athletes are turned away from D1 and D2 scholarships. And I was saying that it is most athletes are exposed to more performance biological training than anybody else, an average person. And so when they don't qualify for a D1, D2 scholarship, those kids should be able to pivot from sports to having a STEM degree, because $3.6 billion in college scholarships go unclaimed every year.
Wow.
What if child was able to pivot that and figure out what in biology will I excel in? Is it, I mean, let's just use sports and the people who are STEM based who support that. There's physical therapists, there's sports medicine, there's so many areas, performance matrix. They could even be engineering where performance becomes a thing that they specialize in. There are so many areas where they can take the training they've done in athleticism, give themselves a competitive advantage to what's pursuing something in STEM, but they have to know what it is that they're looking at. I agree with Keith, too much emphasis is spent on sports. But if that's all we're saying is the way to get out of
That's what we do.
then what you want to do is get out of the struggle. One of the things we talked about too was the statistics, where because actually my master's is in analytics, so data is the thing I love most in this world. And when I was when I was running, and there was my math aptitude, I didn't know it would align with analytics until I was almost 40. When I did the analysis, the wealth gap, which says for every 10 cents, 10 cents in a black household, 80 cents in a white. That same number is reflected in STEM. 9% of STEM is black, 78% of STEM is white. You round those numbers and the numbers are identical. So if STEM is something we understand and it's so pronounced in the community, how is it that we're not capitalizing on it? And just like we had to, and you asked me, what does braids have to do with STEM? So I'm going to add that right there too. So braid theory is a scientific terminology. Braid theory has a scientific expression, and is actually believed to be pure mathematics, which means that it's expressed in art as well as in science. When you look at what the plaits we wear on our hair, our hair is the artistic expression. The scientific expression is braid theory. And just like someone can play music by ear, the argument is to be made that if you could play music by ear, you should be able to also express or learn the technical aspect, music, the keys. And so my argument became, if you know how to braid and there's a lower level or a more technical level of braid theory, you should be able to connect the dots in a way that most people will not be able to, and apply that with the area that you're most skilled in and express yourself in STEM.
All your cosmetologists out there, look at that.
Okay.
Straight up STEM wizards is what you are.
Literally. There was, you know what?
You are.
I'll tell you.
What you are.
That's I actually did an event, and a dad came to me and he was asking about hair stuff. And my program used to be called Hair Braiding is a STEM. I made braiding second to it because the conversations were around braiding. And I asked the dad was telling me that he really wants to have the daughter do different types of braids and cosmetology. She was 12. And I asked him, what subject is she good in? He said, she's not good in anything except math. And he downplayed everything and her soul sank. And I said to him, so was I. Everything else came later. What is also, and he said, all she does is walks around and counts all day. It drives us nuts. You know who was counting all day? Katherine Johnson, the NASA astronaut who created math. Created math. So here it is. Her STEM skill is showing up in the house, and he's out here. No fault of his, because when I said that to him, you could see his whole disposition change. And I said to him, what if the salon is filled with mathematicians?
And it sounds like it is.
It sure is. Back in the day, it was a technical field, evolved to be more beauty-based.
Right.
And I have my conspiracy theories behind it, but let's just leave it where it is.
We about conspiracy theories on here now. If you want to share, definitely go ahead and share.
By downgrading the significance of it, the oppression continues. Where we're now fighting for the way we look instead of being able to apply it to something that can lift our family out of poverty, change the trajectory of our lives.
Right. So here's a question. What's a way, or would you say that there is a way that we can kind of help find those gifts in the children early? Because I think most times that's kind of where we fail as parents, and I'm going to use myself as an example. There are a lot of things that my kids were good at naturally, and I would always, of course, find out what that thing is and then say, hey, boom, let's gear everything toward this. But like I said when we spoke earlier, the great thing about what you did for your daughter is that you found out not only what she was good at mentally, but also how her physical skills, having the dexterity, could help
Mhm.
her, and use that as a something that will compound to say, oh, you know what, you may be good, you know what I'm saying, as a neurosurgeon, because these are the skills that they need, you know what I mean? So is that something that maybe the program will help with?
Yes, absolutely. So this is the awareness part of the program, and here's the significance of it. As parents, we do the best we can with what we have. Let me backtrack and talk about my own journey. I'm 5'10". I've probably been 5'8" since I was 12. I was 5'8", maybe up until I was 16-ish. But my parents, looking at me physically, they thought I was athletic.
Right.
Look, I couldn't walk. I trip on my own feet. Because I learned things quickly, they thought, oh, she'd be good in music. Once again, I had no coordination.
Hmm. Right, which goes
I,
along with the athleticism.
oh, listen, okay. And then my dad tried putting me in languages. I didn't like it.
Hmm.
And so they were doing the best they can with the information they have.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, these are probably the few things I'm remembering. But if you would ask them, they probably could give you a list of, because they were relentless in trying to find a place for me. The thing is, the information they had on the place. My mom actually said I should become an accountant, and I went to school for that and dropped out because I when my professor's like, "This is what you guys have to look forward to," I was like, "I hate this," and it took me, after working with my kids, working through my own journey to figure out where will I find it. And I
Right.
found fulfillment in analytics. My program not only teaches what STEM is. I'm still waiting for, I think it was the person explaining to me what STEM is, since
No,
it's
he never responded.
the common knowledge of what STEM is
Yeah.
and the core skills. But me discovering it, when you Google what the definitions of what the things are, it literally is like the same words just turned around. So what really is it? And so when I teach from the place of having been a student, the work experience, and the life journey that allows you to understand STEM, what it looks like in your child, how to pair that with different things. Because, like my son, he was obsessed with puzzles at a really young age.
I love puzzles.
Oh, engineer. I found this out on accident.
Hmm.
He was 5 or 6 and doing 300 to 500 piece puzzles like this, 2 3 in an evening. They said that he had ADHD. I was like, no, he works for 8 to 10 hours on the weekend knocking out puzzles. And so I started doing research on this before I even started the business,
Right.
because I was determined to get it right. I guess the commitment I saw my parents have for placing me, and then feeling like I wasn't rightly placed,
Hmm.
trying to help my kids close that gap. And just like I was able to do with my kids, I teach in the program. This is how you pair, and that's what STEM comes down to. Pairing different core skills gives you the execution of, this child would be excellent in this. And that's where my assessment comes in. I love the analysis and the assessments of data. And that's how my program is shaped around being able to, instead of a child starting in a program that is makes them feel self-aware, or like they're not good at something. Like for me, I don't know, that failing as an athlete and failing in music, I started feeling like maybe I'm not smart. But what it
Hmm.
is I was in the wrong program. My daughter, over I think it was Easter break, I had her in a programming camp. I thought it was just fun to expose her to something different. She did programming in elementary school. And she walked out of it and said, I'm so glad I know what my STEM gift is, because had I gone into that, and this is something I had taught her without using the words, finding your place.
Right.
She said, if that is where I had started, I would have never thought I had a place in STEM. I'm so grateful I know what my STEM gift was before I stepped in there. So I'm able to walk away and say, that is not the right thing for me. It doesn't mean I'm bad at STEM.
I love that. I think your story is so amazing. And I just love that you are addressing like the whole scenario, because let's just be real. Like our parents, you know, like you said, you made a great point. They did what they did with the best they had, you know, but at this point now we know, because there are tons of other resources that were not necessarily available for them. Okay, you know, we're going to go ahead and let that happen, but we're not going to keep repeating those cycles, right? That is where I feel like that we've got to do a little more work, you know, and I love that you did that. Like, what would be like for someone that just has no idea what STEM is, but they might have a child that they are experiencing that what you experienced with your family, you know, your parents, you know, what would you say to a parent and a child that, you know, is going through that and they're like, oh, I don't know, you know what, I don't know what's going on with them. I don't know what's going on with them. What would be, you know, your suggestion or a recommendation to even, you know, begin the process of finding what their STEM core is?
So before I answer that, I'll tell you one of the biggest, not challenge, maybe hurdles I have in this program. It is so foreign to what the statistics and the belief is around STEM for underrepresented community that I can't even get to meet with, not can't, it's more of a challenge to get to meet with the people who can make a difference. So the first thing you do as a parent is you need to get in touch with your school and say to them, hey, somebody needs to listen and have a conversation with this woman because my child needs this resource. Yeah. It's too much for me to teach in a 1 hour session. The program I've put together is over 10 hours. One of the things that I even designed was a braiding game that shows you what braids look like on a pattern recognition level, which also is very similar to braid theory, which is the scientific part. I put a lot of research into the design, so it actually activates different levels of the mind. Like there's a lot of work that went into this, but if there's one thing I can say, my son having me recognizing STEM, and it was literally just coincidence, we did activities at the library. And it was at the library that an engineer observed my son and was like, who is this kid? He suggested that I get my son into engineering programs. I'm a single mom. I mean, until I had my STEM degree, I wasn't making a decent salary.
Right.
I looked into the STEM program, $3,000 for 2 weeks, and I have 2 children.
Dang.
Where is this money coming?
Okay.
Right.
The program I developed, it's the high end of it is $1.38 per child. The low end is 25 cents a child. It's affordable because and what it is, the way I designed it is so that schools can purchase it, because I was sharing with you, Sincere, that it's a 360 approach. The child needs to be made aware. The teacher needs to be aware so that in the classroom, she's not being counterproductive to the development of the child and that's rebellion. And thirdly, the parent or somebody in the family needs to know this is what it looks like. So when the child is doing something, they recognize it and say, you know what? It's the STEM in you, you know, instead of be like, why are you being on my, it's, you know what? That's that critical thinking. Come through, my God.
Yeah. There needs to be a community built. There needs to be a community built.
And I'll use one example too that I usually share when I'm talking to families. So children love asking why. In a black household, it's seen as disrespect and punishable by death or a belt.
Okay.
Or damn near.
Them old, restricted ways.
Uh-huh.
In a white household, that is seen as a STEM skill, and that child is put in engineering. The same skill is showing up in 2 different households. And then even as a parent, how do you deal with a kid who's excessively curious? And these are some of the things, but I'll share this. Get that joker some books. And this is where the child's interest matters. So my son will wire you to death to this day. If I die tomorrow, put Y on my coffin. He killed me with a Y. But I started getting him books on, he was obsessed with rocks. I got him so many books on rocks. He was sick and tired. Like now he can tell you things about earth science, and he'll argue with you over a rock like the rock is a pet.
Wow. That's
But
great.
I got him the books because I didn't have all the answers. Yeah, I didn't even know the rocks had different names and all this, but that's the thing that I'm doing. And so,
but I love that you were willing to learn it as well. Like you were willing, even though you knew this, you were still willing to learn and grow. And I think that's what's so important. Like we get a certain age and we have this whole, that's just how I am. I'm stuck in my ways. No, if you are really wanting to see success with your child and your child's child and your child's child, then you always have to be, you've always got to be willing to learn and listen. And I think that's super important.
Thank you, my heart. Yeah, I think too. I mean, to credit my parents, I think it's because they didn't give up on my trippy legs. Me trying to find a place for me in the world, and also being a child who didn't feel like I fit in academically. I was considered the weirdo, And I wanted, what I wanted as a gift my whole life. My parents. It took them my whole life to even get the money. By the time they did, I was leaving home. An encyclopedia. How differently my life would have been had I gotten a chance to just read the whole Britannica.
Right.
You know what? And what's crazy about that? As I was talking to my uncle, as y'all probably have seen or heard him sometime today. And I was telling him. Baby. And I was telling him, I said, man, I remember when we was talking about gifts for Christmas and birthdays and stuff like that. I said, man, I remember one of the worst gifts my mama got me was the Encyclopedia Britannica.
You better shut up.
26 volumes of those green and gold books. I was mad as I don't know what.
The salesman brought them to the door and she was able to get them on the
my God, bro. I was just like, my mama does not love me.
I would have given anything for an encyclopedia. Forget the computer. Just give me a whole. And I've been an avid reader, and it's also, and so I feel like also not having found my place academically, I didn't want that thing to continue with my children. So, and so, also too. So I'm from Trinidad and Tobago specifically, the smaller of the two islands. One thing that is very big in the conversations. Granted, they don't have all the academic information, but one of the things they would ask is, what is the child's gift? That's singing. And it's more art-based, but the question always is, what is the child's gift? And I guess because of that, my obsession, and then my son was killing it, and my daughter was like, but I'm not smart like him. I will not raise a daughter who feels inferior in the world. There's enough people outside of the house who will tell you that. Yeah. At this house, you're everything to your mom and everything to the world. They just don't know it yet. Yeah. And so that became the emphasis where I wanted her to feel smart. I didn't want her to feel inferior. And so I just been relentless at it. And as I said to her, I said, if ever you feel like changing your mind from neurosurgery, I'm okay with it. You get to decide, but I'm giving you the tools to be able to make informed decisions like I wasn't able to. You know what I mean?
Ooh, come on, open-minded parenting. Come on,
y'all.
This thing uncovered a couple of different topics. It made me kind of want to get into. Maybe we need to do parenting in the Black community.
Come on, because you already know that's. Listen, I was like, put me back on screen because I need to talk about this.
I mean, because that's. I mean. We all know that we believe in our children and that our children all do have gifts. Yeah. But a lot of times it is it's the laziness we misunderstand how those gifts manifest themselves. You know what I mean?
Lazy. They giving y'all the easy words. I'm giving y'all the real words. Y'all lazy. Y'all don't want to go the extra mile with y'all kids. And I need y'all to stop.
I never said that. I have a different take on it, but it is what it is. I have parents specifically. I mean, not to put my mom on blast, but being Caribbean, they beat for everything, and sometimes being a curious child, I was punished for being curious, and so.
And I agree. I agree with that as well.
I could say that, being beaten so much is lazy parenting instead of taking the time to talk. That's, I feel like you do the best you can. And that is
Right.
because no parent gives birth to their child, holds the baby like this and say, I'm a mess your life up.
Right. And you right. I say lazy because when the things are presenting to you, you choose to turn the other cheek and you choose to walk away and not even find out. When I speak on lazy, I speak on that because I definitely was a curious child as well. I was labeled the bad child because I
Yeah.
was that why person. You hear me?
Yes.
But my wise came with a little reckless because I was a bad kid. I'm not gonna front. But you know what I'm saying? I still was curious to ask questions. I still wanted to know. When I did go to school, my GPA was a 3.5, but I chose boys and being fast and became a teen mom. So, I'm totally
No,
transparent about the
get
boys.
out of here. Not Coach K. Not my Coach K.
Yes.
Not my
I was
consciousness
bad,
out here.
but I was very smart and knowledgeable. And, to this day, it shows as well. So.
Ask you a question. Is it that you were fast, or is it that you weren't being challenged academically? And because you weren't challenged and fulfilled, you look for expressing yourself differently.
It
You
could
see what I'm
probably
saying?
be a
That's
mixture.
that's how we gonna
Just
say it,
yeah,
Coach. Don't argue with that. That's how we gonna say
it's
it.
a
We gonna say it
mixture.
that way.
That's the
You
story
know
we're
what I'm
going
saying? That's what
to.
we're gonna stick with that. We're gonna stick with that.
Right,
Leave
right.
that alone.
You know what?
Leave
You
that
taught
alone.
biology in the 3D. Just tell us the truth.
Oh
If you
man.
don't
But
stop,
listen.
you want the practical part of biology class is health. You wanted to excel.
Yeah, but it's a mixture of all. I will say that it definitely was a mixture of all. Because I right now to this day as a grown woman, it's some conversations that I won't even entertain because it's not challenging to me.
Listen,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they be like, you acting funny, yeah, because you talking about some empty stuff. I'm talking about stuff over here.
Okay.
So I'm straight.
That's
Mm.
good.
Hey, well, look,
Let
we've
me
come to
stop.
that
Let me
point
stop.
where we're at the end of the show, but I must say I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation,
Absolutely.
Emalia, and also like I said before, once your program launches, we want to make sure that we have you back on
Oh yes.
so that we can again talk about the program and any other specifics that might be available to us as far as information
Yeah, I
goes
might have to
at
steal
that
this
point in
guest
time.
too. I definitely want you there on the Empire and Real Talk podcast, baby. Most definitely. So
Thank
I'm
you.
stealing her some I'm just
Right.
telling you out the gate.
Right. So, hey, Amalia, again, let them know what your podcast name is and when and where they can catch it.
Okay, so STEM Breaks and Beyond is where you can find me on all social media platforms. The places I'm most active is LinkedIn. So you look Emalia DeNoon, I'm there. YouTube, STEM Breaks and Beyond. On the YouTube channel, there's a podcast tab, and you click on the podcast and you'll see interviews I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm bringing STEM careers to the community. It's a lot of different people, different ethnicities, different jobs. If I only did people who look like us, I wouldn't have anybody there because there's not enough of us.
Right.
My first podcast was actually just a shameless plug about it, was actually a United Airlines line check pilot, which means he supervises, trains, and approves the pilots that fly the plane. Here's a piece about STEM most people don't realize. I'm sorry, about a pilot most people don't realize. You don't need a degree.
Mm.
Pilots make between $100,000 and $400,000 a year. You're not college material, but you're technically sound. These are options that are available for you, and these are the things that I share on my podcast on a weekly basis to get the community educated on what STEM is, what it looks like, the jobs that are available to you, aligned with your interest, so that you can go out and be the best STEM professional you can be in the world. And also on Kickstarter, you can look for my program, STEM Braids and Beyond. If you look on any of the social media platforms, it's linked there. Go ahead and follow it. The key to a successful Kickstarter campaign is 1,000 followers. So it's live. You can follow. I may switch out some of the information to increase the rewards, but you can get in touch with me and we can chat about it some more. And I'm looking forward to being on Coach K's podcast.
There you go. And
Period.
for y'all who asks or want to know, her first name is Emalia, as you see on the screen. Last name is spelled DENOON. So you make sure that you type that into YouTube, and you'll be able to get right straight to her page. So I appreciate you very much for coming on. I love what you're doing. I definitely support what it is
Absolutely.
that you're doing. I wish you nothing but continued success. And Coach K, you got anything you need to say before we roll out of here?
Nope. I just enjoyed this conversation. I definitely love these type of growth field conversations. So Maya, please continue to do what you do. I will definitely be in touch. I've already subscribed on YouTube. I'll find you on LinkedIn and since I'm there and we could communicate through there. But listen, y'all, it's just all about growth minded conversations. And these conversations going to be a little uncomfortable. So don't take offense.
Mhm.
It's all for the better of our growth because that's what it's all about for us. So, keep doing what you do. If you having struggles, problems, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here for communication, for conversation, because listen, the journey is necessary, baby. So y'all can follow me on all platforms as well at Coach KAYWDS. And be in tune because the new season of the Empowering Real Talk podcast is coming. So you'll see them on there as well. So I'm excited.
All right, and next week we're gonna have Dr. Cornelius Jones on, and we're
Just
gonna be. Go ahead.
so, second, sincere. I didn't get no round of applause, and my feelings are so.
Right. Give her some round of applause. She need that. Right. Call him out. Call him out.
There it is, right there. There it
Call
is.
him out. Good.
There it
Thanks,
is.
sis. Call him
Look at
out.
her.
Good.
Look at you, a mess. You a mess.
Things rubbing off on me.
Oh
Go
man.
ahead, honey.
Look, like I said, everybody, please make sure that you tune in to us next week as we're going to have Dr. Cornelius Jones on. Um, get familiar with the face, and we're going to be talking about black male mental health
Wow.
with the good doctor. So please make sure you join us next week. That's going to be a great conversation. He's very knowledgeable gentleman, very intelligent. I love speaking to him. He's a good friend of mine. So it should be a pretty good show. So hey, signing off is your main man with the game plan.
Deuces, y'all.
Peace.